Super Mario Bros. 3 for the Nintendo Entertainment System is obviously the greatest of the original NES Mario trilogy, and one of the 5 game styles represented in Mario Maker 2. Obviously, since there needs to be some level of consistency kept between game styles in Mario Maker, lots of features were added and removed from the Mario 3 we all know and love. For curiosity's sake, I will be recreating all 90 levels from Mario 3 into Mario Maker 2 to see which levels are the most faithful and accurate to the original. This video will encompass the first world in Super Mario Bros. 3 and the 8 levels that come with it. Without further ado, I will begin with 1-1. Surprisingly, one of the most simple levels already throws some complications our way. First off, the backgrounds are obviously not going to be perfectly lined up, and there's not much we can do about that, but the X and Y positions of the clouds in the background being different is not the biggest problem. Another graphical change is the colors of some of the enemies included. In Mario Bros. 3, there are 2 types of Paragoombas. Red Paragoombas act exactly how you would expect, hopping from side to side, while brown Paragoombas fly high into the air, releasing mini Goombas that we sadly do not have access to in Mario Maker 2. This level features a red Paragoomba that we can easily replace with the basic Paragoomba we are given in the level editor. Mario 3 also has 2 colors of fire piranha plants, but they both act the same, so the change is purely graphical. Looking at the semi-solids in the level, Mario 2 only gives us 3 colors of platform to work with, while Mario 3 has the mythical green platform that we sadly do not have access to. The final big boy change is the sub-area with a 3 made from coins. It contains a palette that is simply not provided with the genres Mario 3 gives us, but replacing the blue blocks with the underground palette is a decent replacement. 1-2. This level mainly consists of grassy blocks and hills that are not provided in the Mario Maker 2 editor, so we have to cave in and simply replace the terrain with a simple ground texture. Along with the return of discolored piranha plants and Goombas, this level provides not many new differences that are unique. There's a similar sub-area that features the same color palette as before, but 1-2 does feature a problem that I am uncertain will ever appear again. You cannot have 2 and 3 block wide pipes in Mario Maker 2, which is a travesty I will sadly never forget for the rest of my life. 1-3. Sadly, Mario Maker 2 only features the Hammer Bro in its editor, so the entirety of the Noble Bro lineage is not represented. So we must replace the 2 Boomerang brothers in this level with obviously more annoying Hammer brothers. Mario 3 also has these strange blocks that bump to the side if you touch them, and they usually give you a power-up. Those don't exist in Mario Maker 2, so they will just be replaced with a simple question block. In this level, there is a hidden super note block that bumps you up to the sky. We can just replace that with a hidden question mark block with a vine that leads up to a pipe that takes the player to the sky sub-area. And this cloud sub-area features a cloud sprite that is slightly different, but one of the most important parts of this level is the secret where Mario can crouch over the white semi-solid platform and eventually go behind the scenes in order to get a warp whistle. Since Mario Maker 2 can provide no benefit to going behind the scenes, this feature must be removed entirely. And there would be no advantage to having a warp whistle in a Mario Maker game, and Nintendo will probably never add one. 1-4 is an auto-scroller, which is a feature that can now easily be added in Mario Maker 2. No clue why Nintendo felt like players enjoy auto-scroller levels, but in this specific case, it is appreciated. In this level, it is apparent that the lifts are slightly thinner and it is much harder to chart the specific courses of these lifts, so the lifts will just venture around the approximate area they are supposed to be in. There's also this small grass semi-solid that is not provided to us because the Mario 3 semi-solids provided in the level editor are very boring, and there's only one size of hard block, sadly. In 1-4, a player enters a pipe at the end and pops out at the end. But since Mario Maker 2 requires the player to be in Subworld 1 to finish the stage, we need to include a little interlude section after you go into the pipe to get the player back to the first subworld. 1-Fortress. This level features lava, but only in specific pits, while in Mario Maker 2, lava is always present at the bottom of the screen. Shortly into the level, Mario comes across some weird disco ball things. These can be replaced with a circular chain with a spike ball attached to it, with the only caveat being that it doesn't look the greatest and the spike balls are actually quite slow. The fortress also features a secret room with a warp whistle that is obviously not applicable in this build. About halfway through the level, Mario enters a room containing a spike ceiling that is constantly ascending and descending. In order to make this look a bit presentable, I just made the ceiling static with some hard blocks and spike blocks, encouraging the player not to jump too high. For the fight with Boom Boom, the Mad Lad himself, we obviously cannot end the fight after he dies, so we need him to give the player keys so that he can hit the axe at the end of the level. 1-5. This level seamlessly transitions between above ground and underground. However, that is not easily available in Mario Maker 2, so I decided the best option was just to have the entire level take place underground in order to make the level play consistently. The underground cave features some pools of water which can be replaced by simply freezing them over. There's also another appearance of the Super Note block which we will need to be replaced by yet another hidden block and vine combo. Since there's only one pipe transition in this level, I needed to add yet another in-between section in order to make sure the player could actually finish the level. One problem that persisted throughout the entire construction of this stage was the finicky nature of Mario 2's slopes. They make it so some ledges jut out in awkward places, and overall this level was in general very difficult to recreate in the Mario Maker 2 editor. 1-6. Even though Mario Maker 2 does not give us the correct platforms necessary to recreate the ones shown in the level, you can simply hide the top of the mushroom by covering it up with wooden blocks. This level also introduces the wooden platforms that ride on an easily visible chain. While we have changed the Mario Maker 2, they cannot replicate the exact precision as the ones shown in the original. In this level, there are some platforms that are held up by some blue chains, and this background detail can be recreated by the bland gray chains we are provided with. 1-6 has an elevator ride that starts after you step onto the platform. Mario Maker 2 has these platforms, but they are colored blue. It looks quite out of place, but it serves its gameplay purpose. One more small detail is how at the very end, the Mario Maker 2 editor does not allow you to paint over the final ground blocks, so the hard blocks awkwardly stop. Even though this level is not quite accurate, it was my personal favorite level to recreate out of the initial 8. 1-airship starts us off at a white cloud platform that cannot be deleted sadly, but we can start building the real level directly afterwards. The airship itself in the Mario Maker 2 editor consistently uses these small windows that are not even present in the original game. Shortly into the level, there's some strange four-headed cannon that shoots in 4 directions. Since that would be way too inconvenient to replicate, I simply just used 3 normal cannons sticking out from 2 normal blocks hanging on the ceiling. The bullet bill blasters are also quite different in these 2 games. In the original, they are 1 block tall and gray, and in Mario Maker 2, they are 2 blocks tall and black. In the original level, there's also some strange gray metal frame that are just replaced with a generic semi-solid. After reaching a no longer gray pipe, we are greeted with our first boss, Larry. Larry's boss fight takes place in some strange dark cargo hold, but the best way to replicate this in Mario Maker 2 is to just use another semi-solid background and surround the player with a lot of blocks so they could not see the outside. Since we can only end the level one way, Larry needs to give a key just like Boom Boom, and another interlude section was necessary in order to get the player to the end of World 1. So that was the first 8 levels of Super Mario Bros. 3 represented in Mario Maker 2. At the end of the series, I'll rank all the levels based on their faithfulness to the original, but for now, I will just rank all of the levels in this world. Number 8, 1-5. Number 7, 1-fortress. Number 6, 1-airship. Number 5, 1-2. Number 4, 1-6. Number 3, 1-3. Number 2, 1-4. And number 1, 1-1. Welcome, disciples of the internet, to the second installment of my series where I intend to replicate all 90 levels of Super Mario Bros. 3 and Mario Maker 2. If you haven't seen the first video, make sure to click on the handy reference card in the corner of your screen to view it. This video will cover the second desert world of Mario 3 and all 9 levels that lay within. One more preliminary statement before the building begins, however, make sure to subscribe and you'll receive the benefits such as unlabeled cans of jelly arriving at your doorstep. 2-1. Not even a few seconds into the level and we are already faced with a discrepancy. There is an uneven collage of blocks that hold a few micro Goombas that jump on Mario's head. They are called, Pile Driver Mini Goombas. Since Nintendo's too cowardly to add the Pile Driver Mini Goombas, I just replaced them with Goombrats as they stay in the exact same location, making it so they essentially serve the exact same gameplay purpose as jumping on a brick Goomba. After a few more forced goombrats, the game throws another curveball our way, which is the fire snake, a chain of lava bubbles that majestically jumps across the desert sands. Mario Maker 2, however, allows us to have the bargain bin version of one lava bubble riding across some awkwardly looking misplaced chains. Shortly after the first fire snake is a box made from purple pipes that is actually surprisingly replicable through using ground blocks that are 1 block thin and not touching the ground. The only issue is that there's a texture difference between the base of the purple pipes, but other than that there is no gameplay difference. Before the second instance of purple pipes is an invisible note block. We have invisible blocks in Mario Maker 2, but only of the question mark variety. 2-1 also has 2 different sub-areas that have a completely black background, which isn't really a theme, so I just reused the underground texture like I have done in World 1. In one of these sub-areas are invisible coins, ones that only appear when you hit a P-switch. Since they have no inclusion in Mario Maker 2, substituting them with blocks that will turn into coins anyway is a decent replacement. 2-2, the start of this level features some unattainable quicksand that for now I just elected to replace with basic desert sand, and another bump block that was switched out for a generic question block. But halfway into the level, the main gimmick shows itself to be a lift ride over a desert oasis. Usually I would just replace the water with some blue colored blocks, but since this mechanic is so necessary to the level, I put a pipe shortly after the quicksand section that led the player to the jungle theme that includes water. It serves its gameplay purpose fine, the only problem being that the jungle theme for Mario 3 and Mario Maker 2 sucks hard. It's just a boring background with the ground texture just being various sizes of pipes. Nothing could be more boring. I also need to replace the green paratroopers with their red variants so they wouldn't just fall into the water. 2-Fortress takes place in a dark stronghold made of stone, but for Mario Maker 2, all of our castle and fortress levels need to look the same anyway, so there's going to be a pool of lava at the bottom of the screen even though there's none to be found in the original level. Because of the NES's wacky color palette system, the thwomps in this level are also blue, which in my opinion is actually much more visually striking than the thwomps always being static gray. Some enemies in Mario 3 seem to be much stronger than their Mario Maker 2 versions. For example, the boos in the original level relentlessly hunt Mario down the second he thinks about turning away, while in Mario Maker 2 they don't even pose a realistic threat. In the original level, there is a pipe that once you enter, the screen scrolls upward and you continue the stage. But for our purposes, we have to send Mario to a new sub-area and pretend that Mario is in the same room. After a dash through a few thwomps, Mario finds himself in a room with spiky platforms that move up and down. Just like the last video, the best option is to keep the spikes still and give the player the real hard challenge of not accidentally pressing the jump button. Through another door is the gray Boom Boom, who gives us an orb that finishes the level. Instead, we can just give Mario a key that leads to a door that leads him to a pipe that leads him to the axe. 2-3 features a lot of semi-solids, which makes it prevalent that in Mario Maker 2, semi-solids cannot be 2 blocks tall. This does not change anything about the gameplay, but it does make the pyramids in the level look a tad bit strange. 2-3 also includes 4 fire snakes that must be replaced with a couple of fire bubbles on chains. Since 2-3 includes so many semi-solids, the game actually stopped me from including all of them in the level, so I had to cave in and remove one of them in the level. His sacrifice will not be in vain. Other than the pile driver mini Goombas and the invisible note blocks, there's not much more of note, but since the player must be in the first subworld in order to finish the level, another classic interlude section was needed. 2-Quicksand. Super Mario Bros. 3 likes to do this thing where instead of simply naming all levels with numbers, some levels are represented with symbols such as piranha plants and pyramids. This is our first example of that being 2-Quicksand. Since quicksand is such an integral part of the level, I could not just simply replace it with the basic desert ground like I've been doing, so I filled the pits of quicksand with a bunch of donut blocks. Later, there is a tornado that we can replace with a twister that is held in place with a few two-way doors. And thankfully, the Angry Sun is easily provided to us through the level editor. 2-4 is a level consisting of 2 major paths, one top path and one bottom path. Both paths use a lot of palm trees in specific places, but sadly the location of the background palm trees is not something I can control in the Mario Maker 2 editor. In the bottom row, there are also more boomerang bros, and as I mentioned in the previous video, Mario Maker 2 does not respect the noble bro lineage. In the top path, there is a big lake of water that is replaced with a few ice blocks and a bunch of currently off on-off blocks. with a green Cheep Cheep that is perpetually trapped there on a chain for the rest of eternity. 2-5. This level introduces us to the chain chomps, and before they got their little stump, they were simply attached to a basic hard block. Later, there's a seemingly pointless pool of water and the special orange vine. After riding this orange vine, there's another unique sub-area which we can replace with another basic underground section. And other than that, this level is actually quite tame when it comes to acting similar to the original game. 2-Pyramid, another not numbered symbol-oriented level that is, this time, centered around a desert pyramid. The level starts off with a player entering a pyramid through a semi-solid block, and for Mario Maker 2, I increased the height of the pyramid just to make sure the player could not jump behind it and get stuck. Since pipes are the only method of getting to the sub-area, everyone's favorite method of adding an interlude section must be employed. Since the player also starts the pyramid sub-area through a door, yet another interlude section is needed in order to finally get the player inside the pyramid. For the pyramid itself in the original game, it takes on a brown underground theme, while in Mario Maker 2, we must make the inside of the pyramid blue. The most prevalent issue with this level is the slopes, which stick out in odd places and make replicating the original level a chore. One more thing, in Mario 3, pipes only work in one direction, so if you enter a sub-area, you have to enter out of a different pipe. But in Mario Maker 2, you can go in and out of the pipe all you want. This hasn't posed the biggest threat to gameplay yet, but I just want to keep an eye on it if it ever becomes a problem in the future. 2-Airship. A lot of the airships in Mario Bros. 3 have different color palettes. In this case, World 2's airship is green. But for this project, all airships will be the same basic brown. In the background of this airship, you can see chains that link the different parts of the airship together. I replaced this with the basic Mario 2 chains, and it doesn't look half bad. In Mario 3, there is a cannon that is part of the walls of the airship and shoots diagonally. To replace this, I hollowed out a 2x2 section of the ship and placed a single cannon in that spot, and essentially achieves the same gameplay purpose. Since the bullet bill blasters are 2 blocks tall in Mario Maker 2, some finessing was needed in order to make sure the cannons were in the exact same positions as the original. Since basic auto-scroll will not be enough for this airship, I used the custom auto-scroll feature to make the camera bob up and down as the level progresses. The battle with Morton was conducted in the same way I set up Larry's boss fight, but for the very end I tried to replicate the in-game cutscene of Mario falling from the sky after he grabs the wand. So that was all 9 levels of World 2 of Super Mario Bros. 3 represented in Mario Maker 2. At the end of this series I will rank all levels based on their faithfulness to the original, but for now I will just rank all of the levels in this world. Number 9, 2-Fortress. Number 8, 2-4. Number 7, 2-Pyramid. Number 6, 2-Airship. Number 5, 2-3. Number 4, 2-2. Number 3, 2-1. Number 2, 2-Quicksand. Number 1, 2-5. Welcome, disciples of the internet, to the tertiary installment of my series where I intend to recreate every level from Super Mario Bros. 3 and Mario Maker 2. This video will encapsulate the 12 levels that make up World 3 of Mario Bros. 3, also known as Waterland. If you have seen the previous videos, make sure to click on the handy reference card in the corner of your screen that will take you to the first video. Just one more thing left before the building, however. Make sure to subscribe in order to have your home be spared when the Jelly Hurricane passes over it. 3-1. In Super Mario Bros. 3, there is never any water level that is just fully underwater. There is always a gap of air at the top where the player can reach some secrets. In the Mario Maker 2 editor, the underwater theme makes it so the whole space is underwater, so I simply just remove these sections as they would allow the player to swim over anything, and I want to maintain some semblance of difficulty. In basically every water level, there are also some pipes that just spout bursts of air that push the player in a certain direction. This is slightly replaceable as Mario Maker 2 has the Twister, which is the weirdest addition to the game that no one invited. But in this one circumstance, we can recreate the bubbling pipes that are oriented upwards, and only upwards since twisters cannot face other directions. Because I had to eliminate the above ground sections, some parts of this level are just now inaccessible, like this fire flower, which will never be grabbed by anyone ever. We also have a new enemy introduced in this level, the Lava Lotus. It shoots 4 spike balls at the player when they get close. In order to replicate this, I instead made the mythical 3-headed piranha plant, which will replace all Lava Lotus notices from now on. This level also needs to start out with the ground section, just to make sure the player ends the level above ground. 3-2. This level has a strong, heavy reliance on chains and the like, and from previous videos you should know that the chains are not quite accurate. So most times when a chain was featured, I just had to recreate it in the general shape it appeared in the original level. The next problem is at the end of the level, there's this short little section the player is intended to reach with a super leaf, but since there is no super leaf in this level, and you can't carry power-ups between levels, this beautiful section will never be seen by the outside world. 3-3 is a level that fully revolves around one gimmick, one that I do not have. Boss Bass is a giant Cheep Cheep that patrols the level trying to eat Mario. The best I can do to replace this is one normal Cheep Cheep that is easily defeated with a singular jump. About midway through the level, there's also a lift that repeatedly spins on certain intervals. Mario Maker 2 gives us a normal seesaw that works exactly how you would expect, with no spinning. Just after the seesaw are some ice blocks. Cannot really find out what they're supposed to be made of. Mario can just pick up these blocks and throw them to destroy obstacles. Right now for World 3 I can just replace these with regular bricks, but if this ever leads to the level being impossible, I'll have to get crafty. And by the way, there's an interlude section, but you probably already expected that. 3-Fortress 1. Oh my sweet jam, this level is a gargantuan pain. The Mario 3 staff were playing with warp doors and pipes and made a level where the player must choose the correct door in order to find Boom Boom at the end. One massive problem is that Mario Maker 2 only gives us 4 warp doors per subworld, so most of these doors are going to be replaced with pipes, and that won't even save us, as the editor does not let us make too many enterable pipes. So I guess some pipes are there now just for decoration. The start of this level also features some wacky disco balls, but thanks to Treja 204 I now replace the spike balls with fireballs with wings. Also, since the second subworld is water, we have to use the trash Mario 3 jungle theme, which kinda takes the player out of the fortress vibe. Eventually there's just another Boom Boom fight and one last interlude section before I never have to deal with this level again in my life. 3-4 is such a breath of fresh air where some of the only problems are pits of water and different textures. Later into the level there's a section with a hidden P switch that gives the player a plethora of coins. I decided not to replace them with blocks as I did earlier, then that would just look wacky. 3-5 features even more above ground sections that I must vanish from existence, and more bubbly pipes that must be backed up with twisters. There are also 2 instances of these big Cheep Cheeps that spit out little Cheep Cheeps. I would think that they are the same character as Boss Bass, but no, they are named, Big Bertha. In the original level, there is a pipe that the player can swim into with a frog suit, but since the pipe is too close to the ground in Mario Maker 2, I cannot put a twister there, so the player can just get into the sub-area for free. In the sub-area, there is a giant question mark block that gives the player 3 1-ups. Since stacking a bunch of individual question mark blocks in the exact same place would look strange, I simply just put 3 individual question mark blocks right next to each other. 3-6 is another auto-scroller type level that takes place over some perilous pits. Since this level also features some ice blocks, some parts of this level that were easily accessible before are now much harder to get to. And of course there is another interlude section, but at least they are looking better by the moment. 3-7 is a level that was not quite accurate, but was fun to make. Since there were some strange grassy platforms in this level, I actually replaced them with some vines and ground blocks. I think it looks quite good. About 3/4 of the way through the level, there's another invisible no block that leads to a sky sub-area. At the end of this area, instead of leading the player back normally, they are rewarded with a cloud. I wasn't quite sure what to do here, so I just gave the player a 1-up and sent them to the end of the level. 3-Fortress 2, our first instance of a world in Super Mario Bros. 3 that has multiple fortresses. Since we need water for both of the sub-areas in this level, the fortress theme won't even be used anywhere in the level, making this the first fortress level that doesn't end with the player hitting the axe at the end. In the third area of this level are some strange bars of ectoplasm, I guess, and residing in these bars are some boos called stretches. We can replace the stretches, but not the strange white bars they ride on. So I just used some note blocks. They are white enough. 3-8 is another Boss Bass centric level, except now the water rises up and down. This is not really a threat anymore now that Boss Bass is gone, but hey, at least the water is rising. There's also another lift that will need to be replaced with a strange looking unstable blue lift, and there's also a pool of water at the end, so I unfortunately had to use the Mario 3 jungle theme again, which I cannot stress my disdain for enough. 3-9 is a level that sort of has two layers, one layer that is above ground and one that is underwater. Thankfully, in the above ground there are a bunch of familiar enemies that we already have access to. The later half of this level features a bunch of ice blocks that should have been easily pushed out of the way, but now we have to utilize the Koopas and Bob-ombs in the level in order to break through. In the bottom half, there's a lot of water, with the bottom blocks being some strange blue ground. In the left of this area is another sub-area that leads to a giant block, this time giving the player a frog suit. Too bad we only have such a small area to use it in. 3-airship. The original airship has the color of blue, teal, aquamarine. This level features a lot more of those strange wall cannons that can now just be replaced with some simple cannons that are shoved into some 1x1 spaces in the walls. After the cannon is some strange corkscrew platform that is moved by repeatedly jumping on the platform. Finally, in this case, the unstable blue platform is the right color. The boss battle against Wendy takes place in a boring flat room and plays quite similarly to the original game. After not collecting the wand, the player can fall out of the sky and finish World 3. So that was all 12 levels of World 3 in Super Mario Bros. 3 represented in Mario Maker 2. At the end of the series, I will rank all levels based on their faithfulness to the original, but for now, I will just rank all of the levels in this world. Number 12. 3-Fortress 1. Number 11, 3-3. Number 10, 3-8. Number 9, 3-Fortress 2. Number 8, 3-5. Number 7, 3-1. Number 6, 3-Airship. Number 5, 3-7. Number 4, 3-2. Number 3, 3-9. Number 2, 3-6. And number 1, 3-4. That's all. Welcome, disciples of the internet, to the expected quaternary installment of my series where I intend to replicate every single level of Super Mario Bros. 3 in the Mario Maker 2 editor. This video will encapsulate the fourth world of Mario 3, or Giant Land if you prefer. If you have not seen the previous 3 videos of this series, make sure to click on the reference card in the top right corner of your screen in order to view the first video of this project. World 4 is 9 whole levels to cover, but before the building begins, make sure to subscribe in order to prevent the jelly virus from taking over your computer. 4-1. If you cannot tell from the name Giant Land, the whole entire gimmick of this world is giant everything. Giant bricks, giant blocks, giant ground, giant pipes, giant enemies, and even giant clouds. So for the blocks themselves, they will just be replaced with 4 smaller blocks stacked together in a clump. Thankfully, the giant question mark blocks basically serve the same purpose, as the super leaf can pass through blocks. As I mentioned a few moments ago, there are also giant enemies, and thanks to Mario Maker 2, you can give enemies mushrooms to make them basically double the size. But this solution is not that simple. In the original game, giant enemies do not share the same sprite as their smaller renditions, so the giant Koopas in Mario 3 are hunchbacks that take up only around 4 blocks, while in Mario Maker 2 they are tall behemoths that take up around 6 blocks. Another problem is the plants, the piranha plants. They sport a newfangled 3-block wide pipe. This pipe is unreplicable. I have found no decent replacement. But in the end, the only problem is that some jumps now require a bit more gamer skill. Hovering over the level is a giant pool of water that leaks into a little waterfall. Since this pool of water is above the ground, not even the jungle theme can save us now. So I went back to my old strategy of replacing all water blocks with blue on-off blocks. After that, I added some ice blocks for flavor and inserted some one-way doors so the player could swim up the waterfall. 4-2 is sort of a semi-water level, the perfect level for the jungle theme. And the ground texture for this level is a strange one, empty question mark blocks. No simple way to do this, so the ground will now just be replaced with a cavalcade of question mark blocks. In the original game, the pipes do not extend to the bottom of the screen because the water is not transparent. But in Mario Maker 2, you can now fully see the pipe's nakedness. I chose not to make the pipes extend all the way to the bottom because if the player would ever fall, there would be no getting back up.
Michael! Don't leave me here! Michael! Michael! Help me!
4-3 is an underground level that doesn't have an interlude section. Wow, I never thought I would see the day. And at the start of the level, there are some giant hammer brothers, which means that the noble bro lineage is finally represented after 3 videos. For the underground section itself, there's some slope wackiness, but that's always to be expected whenever there are slopes involved in the Mario Maker 2 editor. 4-Fortress 1. This level relies on a lot of sideways moving thwomps, as well as these wacky little fire boys who sort of work like boos. I replaced the candle they start out on with the donut platform and set a chain path on the ground beneath their starting platform where I simply put a normal lava bubble. Speaking of boos, there's an underground section that features one. But recently, I just found out that before they were called boos, they were called Boo Diddlies. Boo Diddlies. Mario could have just told Luigi that boos used to be called Boo Diddlies. And then Luigi would never be scared of them again. 4-4 is another pseudo-water level. I say it's not really a water level because it never features the same tropes we've seen in other water levels. There are only 3 enemies in the entire level, and they are all Lakitus. And in Mario Maker 2, the spiny balls move so slowly through the water that this level features basically no threats at all. Sprinkled throughout the level are giant plants that are now simple vines, as those are the only non-lethal plants I have access to. In the start of the level, there's another twister pipe, and since there's no frog suit in the level, you are not getting into that sub-area through this pipe. Since there are 2 heights of water, there also needs to be a pipe halfway through the level just so I can send the player to another jungle sub-area with a different water level. Since the water level is so high, the goal is also underwater, which is a tad wacky. 4-5 heavily relies on giant Koopas and piranha plants, both of which we have already seen before. There are also some clusters of bullet bill blasters, some of which seem normal, but they actually spit out heat-seeking missile bills. They switch sides depending on where Mario is in relation to them. Thankfully, in Mario Maker 2, we also have missile bills, but these are a massive improvement. They have full 360 rotation. Combining this with Mario Maker 2's ability to have a massive amount of projectiles on screen at a time makes this level a lot harder than it normally should be. Inside the sub-area is our first instance of the Tanuki suit, which is an advanced version of the Super Leaf that can turn Mario into an invincible statue. Sadly, the best I can give the player in Mario Maker 2 is just a normal Super Leaf. 4-6 is a really cool level in the original game, where the player can enter a door and go into a different version of the level with larger or smaller enemies. Building it was really annoying though. I had to build the exact same level 2 times, with the only difference being the enemies and different power-up locations. And since you can't change your sub-area with warp doors, 4 different interlude sections are needed to get the player to the different versions of the level. 4-Fortress 2. This fortress seems so short. So simple. If you are only trying to beat the level as fast as possible, this level only takes around 30 seconds. But this level has just one dirty little secret. There is a P-switch that leads the player into a giant sub-area that takes the player through 3 jam-packed rooms. First sub-area requires us to use our first instance of a vertical sub-area. There are a few platforms that the player can jump on to ride in certain directions, but most of them can just be replaced with either normal platforms or blue platforms that ride on chains. But the main issue of this first room is that pipes don't take you to a new sub-area, but Mario just moves a bit further throughout the sub-area. This means I have to add an interlude section for every one of these pipes, except for one of them since I reached the limit of pipes that Mario could enter. The 2 other sub-areas are quite simple, except for a plethora of unreachable coins since there is no Super Leaf in this level. 4-Airship. Do you like burners? This level does. They are literally the only obstacle in this entire level, except for one rocky wrench. Like, imagine being part of Bowser's army, and you get assigned to be on an airship with no co-workers and fire around every corner. So not only are you desperately alone, but if one stray ember were to escape from those burners, the entire airship would go down in flames. Other than the burners, there were some fans in the background that were supposedly pushing the airship along. I swapped these out with some burners, giving this airship a total of 21 burners. The battle versus Iggy was actually one of the easiest so far, and both Luigi and Mario can fall out of the sky to easily end World 4. So that was all 9 levels of World 4 of Super Mario Bros. 3 represented in Mario Maker 2. At the end of this series, I'll rank all levels based on their faithfulness to the original, but for now, I will just rank all of the levels in this world. Number 9, 4-Fortress 2. Number 8, 4-4. Number 7, 4-6. Number 6, 4-1. Number 5, 4-5. Number 4, 4-2. Number 3, 4-Fortress 1. Number 2, 4-Airship. And number 1, 4-3. That's all. Welcome, disciples of the internet, to the anticipated quinary installment of my series where I intend to replicate every single level of the NES classic Super Mario Bros. 3 and Mario Maker 2. This video will cover the 5th sky-themed world of Mario 3, which has a total of 13 levels, which topples World 3's record of 12 levels. If you wish to see the creation of the previous 4 worlds, click on the reference card located at the top of your screen. Just one more not shameless plug before the building begins, however. Make sure to subscribe in order to make sure that your credit card debt is 100% cleared. No joke, I promise. Why would I lie to you? I'm not some distrustworthy cult leader. I'm an honest cult leader. 5-1. So before we can get to the illustrious sky, there are 5 interlude ground levels. 5-1 itself is remarkable for the trait of introducing 2 new enemies, the Buster Beetle and the Nipper Plants. Buster Beetles are quite interesting as they make use of the ice blocks I've been neglecting this whole run, because not only can Mario throw them, but the Buster Beetles can too. However, there are not any ice blocks in this level anyway, so they're just reduced to a slightly less interesting Buzzy Beetle. Nipper Plants are white little carnivorous plants. They remain in one spot and jump up whenever Mario jumps past them. Since they have a similar appearance to munchers, they simply put springs under some munchers. However, this doesn't really stop Mario from taking the spring from under them and slowing their roll. Under this giant arch of hard blocks is some water and 2 3s made from invisible coins. Now they are just out-of-place 3s made from bricks. For the sub-area of this level, there's a strange circumstance where if you don't have a mushroom, you can end the level from collecting a music box, just like the cloud from earlier in the series. I replaced the music box with a 1-up and sent the player directly to the end of the level. 5-2, this level is massive. The whole gimmick is that the player could either play the entire level above ground or underground. It would be simple if this was it, because this could just be accomplished with 2 horizontal sub-areas. But between these areas is a very long fall with a few coins, which forces me to make one of these sub-areas vertical. And since I had to force most of this level's content to be in one sub-area, I had only about 1 block of breathing room before I could reach the goal. And for the underground area itself, one of the main threats is a cavalcade of Buster Beetles with a collection of ice blocks this time. Now they are just simple Buzzy Beetles trapped between some basic brown bricks.
Michael, don't leave me here!
5-3. This level is important for letting the player run to the left this time. It also introduces the Goomba shoe, or the Karibo's shoe. About halfway into the level, you are actually forced to run to the right, and since the ground is so low, I had to move up the munchers 1 block so they don't just fall into the void. The final Goomba shoe is also trapped inside this box made of bricks, and in the original game there are some ice blocks so you have the opportunity to free him, but now he will just be stuck forever in this crypt for eternity.
Michael!
5-Fortress 1. Instead of actually having walls, this fortress is more of a 1-block frame, which looks quite strange since Mario Maker 2 doesn't have a black background. Personally, the biggest problem of this fortress was this level's insistence on using those strange disco balls. So sometimes the path of these balls would annoyingly intercept each other. Oh yeah, and halfway through the level, there's a Boo Diddley. 5-Tower. So in order to get to the Sky Kingdom, Mario has to pass through this windy tower, and yeah, this level always felt kind of wacky. You don't even end the level with an orb or a wand or a card box. Mario just enters a pipe and then it's done. My first thought for this level was just to have one sub-area be a fortress and one be the sky, but that would require too many interlude section shenanigans. So I just made both sub-areas the sky and used tower-themed semi-solids for all of the sub-areas that were indoors. The second area of this tower features the long-awaited return of the Pile Driver Mini Goombas, and as I've been told twice in the comment section of that video, placing them with Shoe Goombas is a better idea since they obviously follow the jumping arc pattern. After climbing up the blue vine, we are now in the sky section, and I gotta say, the levels are quite simple and barren. Most of them rarely have a sub-area or any hidden secrets, but some of them have these annoying features that cause them to be way harder to build than they should be. 5-4. The whole gimmick of this level is the strange seesaw platforms that spin almost uncontrollably uncontrollably on random intervals. Since if I were to replace all of the seesaws with basic ones, this level would have basically no challenge and be quite boring. And to replicate the spinning randomness of the platforms, I replaced every other seesaw with the wacky green and white bouncers. 5-5. This level takes place over a long bridge of donut blocks and features yet another Tanuki suit that must be replaced with a basic super leaf. And this level would be quite tame if it weren't for the inclusion of the fire chomp. This guy spits out some fireballs and explodes, but in my opinion, I made the better version. The winged chain chomp. I left him with his stump so he wouldn't just hang there, and I gave him some wings so it actually looked like, you know, he was flying. 5-6 is one of the 3 auto-scroll levels in this world if you are including the airship, and you need to ride these red beetles. Thankfully, if you give wings to a buzzing beetle, they act exactly like these strange red beetles, and they serve the exact same gameplay purpose. Near the end of the level is another fire chomp, and I'm glad because it gives me another excuse to use the winged chain chomp. 5-7 heavily relies on pile driver mini Goombas, and since they are now replaced with shoe Goombas, it creates a kind of chaos that allows the player to easily advance through the level with basically no damage taken in the slightest. But that's not all, as this level also features a sub area that leads the player to a basic underground section. And I mean basic, as the only enemy in this section is a singular red Koopa, and there are 4 superstars. Who would ever need that many? And in the top area, there are also 6 superstars. Like, this level is not hard enough to warrant that many. 5-Fortress 2 likes to follow in the footsteps of Super Mario Galaxy by having a pool of lava at the ceiling of the level. And in this floating pool of lava, there are multiple lava bubbles that spring out and return back to the ceiling. For the lava, I used dotted line blocks for their red exterior and used chains to give the lava bubbles the appearance of defying gravity. The main platform of this level is bridges, which somehow do not catch on fire from all of the lava surrounding them. Mario Maker 2, these bridges have to be at least 3 blocks wide, so some jumps are now made much easier than they rightfully should be. Oh yeah, and near the end of the level is a Boo Diddley. 5-8 is the most boring level I've seen in this game so far. It's just a basic collection of cloud platforms with a few red Koopas and a Lakitu. That's it. The most interesting aspect of this level is how non-interesting it is. It was so boring that I had to spice up the interlude section to add some level of flavor to this otherwise snorefest of a level. 5-9, this level is also the second instance of an auto-scroller in this world, and this time the level is structured diagonally, and sadly there's no option to create a diagonal subworld in the Mario Maker 2 editor. So constantly I would have to add pipes so the player can access the next part of the level. And for the level itself, it just consists of platforms that move from side to side or up and down, and there are only 3 enemies, the first being a red Koopa and the next 2 being some fire chomps. Or winged chain chomps if you truly realize which enemy is superior. 5-Airship brings us back to the basic brown of the original airship of World 1, and for obstacles there's a heavy reliance on those strange wall cannons. And these are the only obstacles where I would have to change how they look every time, just so the cannons are oriented the correct way. This airship also marks the return of the 4-headed cannons, which piles onto the projectile chaos of this airship as a whole. The boss fight against Roy is slightly changed, as Roy acts quite similar to his Super Mario World counterpart.
And you gotta die!
But after that, both Mario and Luigi can follow the airship to end World 5. So that was all 13 levels of World 5 of Super Mario Bros. 3 represented in Mario Maker 2. At the end of this series, I'll rank all levels based on their faithfulness to the original, but for now, I'll just rank all of the levels in this world. Number 13, 5-2. Number 12, 5-Fortress 2. Number 11, 5-Tower. Number 10, 5-Airship. Number 9, 5-9. Number 8, 5-4. Number 7, 5-1. Number 6, 5-Fortress 1. Number 5, 5-3. Number 4, 5-6. Number 3, 5-5. Number 2, 5-7. And number 1, 5-8. So that's welcome, disciples of the internet, to the ice-based scenario installment of my Mario Maker 2 series, where I recreate every level of Super Mario Bros. 3 in the Mario Maker 2 editor. World 6 introduces the snow theme, which became a staple of most Mario games to follow. World 6 contains a grand total of 14 levels, which means World 5 could not even hold its record of most levels for even one video. If you feel some inclination to view the first 5 videos videos in this series, click on the reference card located in the corner of your screen that will take you to the first video that covers World 1. One more not shameless plug before the video begins, however, make sure to subscribe and toll the notification bell to view even more jelly-filled content. 6-1. All of the enemies in this level, except one, are variations of piranha plants. The most common variation is a new one, the Patui piranha plants. They blow one spike ball up and down through the air. My first thought was to replace these with a chain, but chains cannot represent the gravitational changes in speed and such, so we have to bring back the twister again. By putting the twister under the pipes, we can let the spike ball ride on the winds, except the snow theme in Mario Maker 2 has an exception where all spike balls are now snowballs. It makes the level much easier, but at least it does match the snow theme of this world quite well. The walking Patui plants are much more problematic than the stationary ones, since you cannot put a twister on a chain for some reason, so they will both move at different speeds, making it look like the piranha plant is constantly dropping and picking up the snowball as it moves from side to side. 6-2, another boring auto-scroller type level, with cloud platforms that slide all the way from the right to the left of the screen. Now that I'm forced to use basic lifts, it actually adds an air of urgency to this otherwise uninteresting level. The absence of ice blocks makes it so that it is physically impossible to grab the super leaf at the beginning of the level, which further adds to the challenge. At the very end of the level is an out-of-place pool of water, but I still refuse to change to the jungle theme for pure aesthetic reasons. 6-3, yet another sky-themed ice level, but thankfully there is no presence of auto-scroll to slow your roll. The rest of this level is quite simple, with one of the only areas of interest being the sub-area that you access via a white vine. The sub-area has a unique Tanuki suit, and both exits of this area lead into the same pipe. So for the Mario Maker 2 version, I just shoved two pipes right next to each other, and yes, it does look out of place. 6-Fortress 1, the first of 3 fortress levels that populate the world. This level starts out with an automated lift ride over lava. The end of this ride has more deadly disco balls, and I made the lift stop early so there would be no chain interference. The rest of this fortress does not actually have much of interest, but there is a winged boom boom at the end.
You call this resisting arrest? We call this a difficulty tweak.
6-4, continuing with the trend of sky-based levels in this world, 6-4 features some wacky and unique lift change shapes that are quite cumbersome to represent in Mario Maker 2. The lifts near the end of the level appear to spin constantly, so I have no regrets with simply replacing these with bumpers. 6-5, in my objective opinion, this is probably the worst level of the original game. If you play the level like any normal human being, you will just loop back to the beginning. What you are intended to pull off is grab a super leaf, clear out all the Buster Beetles, stomp on a Koopa, maintain P-speed all while holding the Koopa shell, and fly up to this alcove and kill the Nipper plants before the Koopa wakes up. The pain of this level is still mostly maintained in my Mario Maker 2 rendition, however it is a bit easier without Buster Beetles, and I replaced the Nipper plants with piranha plants this time, as munchers cannot be killed with a simple shell. 6-6, an underground underwater level, which means there must be some out-of-place pipes so the player can transfer into the underwater sections. Due to the sub-area rules, the start and end of this level must be underwater, which feels quite cursed in Mario Bros. 3 context. The underground sections of this level also feature some jumping Cheep Cheeps, but some static chains work just as well. 6-7, because I'm not allowed to have fun, we have yet another sky auto-scroller level, but at least there are some wicked chain chomps to keep me company. World 6 has some neat platforms that are some grassy plots of ground held up by some wood pillars. I used a green mushroom platform and some ground blocks beneath them, and like the grass semi-solids of World 3, I think these hack job platforms look quite good for what they are. 6-Fortress 2, this mini fortress does not share the fortress tropes shared by the castles that came before it. There is no lava, and there's another basic black background. Because of this, I resorted to the Mario Maker 2 Ghost House theme, as it also has a black background, and the only drawback is the music and the starting platform looking a bit weird. And since this is a ghost house, there are some boo diddlies. 6-8, in this frozen wasteland, there's one level that actually takes place in a grassy plain. At first I thought this would be a bonus, since the spike balls would actually be spike balls now. But spike balls are actually quite problematic, as they move to the side and will kill the piranha plants after contact is made. I tried to stall the spike ball or use chains, but in the end the best option was just to switch back to the snow theme so the piranha plant wouldn't just instantly die. The majority of the enemies in this level are Nipper plants and Buster Beetles. Combine this with the snowballs and the slopes, and it makes this level one of the most cursed Mario 3 3 levels so far. 6-9, the funny number level, is another underground underwater level like 6-6, but since the water level is always at the same level, we can yet again use the horrid jungle theme. Since the triple life sub-area cannot fit in the overworld, there must be some interlude sections in these ice blocks, and the sub-area itself will be much more submerged than in the original game since the water level must be kept consistent throughout this sub-area. 6-10, the final sky theme before I am free from bottomless pits. There are some paths blocked by ice blocks which can end with the player being soft locked if they run out of shells. Mario Maker 2 gives us coins frozen in ice, but they don't give us frozen munchers, so now the munchers will always be free. Inside the sub-area, there's some slope wackiness and a hammer suit. 6S Fortress 3. This fortress utilized Boo Diddleys, stretches, and disco balls, all problems we have already seen before. But the second area is a tad interesting. You drop in from the ceiling and the floor is raised until you can enter this door. I put chains all throughout the room and put bullet bill launchers on each one to simulate the rising of the floor of the original level. 6-Airship. The ship sports a very striking blue color and no enemies whatsoever, and I thought that 4-Airship would be the loneliest level. Since the corkscrew platforms are gone, most of the challenge of this level is also gone, and Mario only has to contend with 7 burners before finding Lemmy. Lemmy's magic balls are a bit less deadly in Mario Maker 2, but this is probably the most faithful fight so far.
And you gotta die.
After falling off the screen, both Mario and Luigi can now advance onto World 7. So that was all 14 levels of World 6 of Super Mario Bros. 3 represented in Mario Maker 2. At the end of the series, I'll rank all levels based on their faithfulness to the original, but for now, I'll just rank all of the levels in this world. Number 14, 6-8. Number 13, 6-9. Number 12, 6-Fortress 3. Number 11, 6-1. Number 10, 6-10. Number 9, 6-Airship. Number 8, 6-6. Number 7, 6-Fortress 1. Number 6, 6-2. Number 5, 6-7, number 4, 6-3, number 3, 6-5, number 2, 6-4, and number 1, 6-Fortress 2. So that's all. Welcome, disciples of the internet, to the penultimate septenary installment of the Mario 3 analysis series, in which I intend to recreate every single level of Super Mario Bros. 3 inside of Mario Maker 2. The entire gimmick of World 7 is pipes and the various plants that dwell within. Even the map is shaped like pipes. Including the 2 different Piranha Plant levels, there are a total of 14 levels, tying World 7 with World 6's record of 14 levels. If you missed the previous 3/4 of this game, click on the reference card to start at the very beginning of this series. One more not shameless plug before the building begins, however, make sure to subscribe and toll the notification bell to view even more jelly-infused content. 7-1. In these variations of levels, the Super Mario Bros. 3 developers want to flex their verticality, and most of the times these levels are so much worse than those of the horizontal variety. The reason for this being is that there's a warp effect where Mario can teleport between sides of the screen. In this level, it doesn't cause any soft locks, so we can just have normal borders on the edges of the screen. Pipes are the main source of travel in this level, and since we can only have one vertical sub-area, about 25% of the pipes are able to be entered, just enough so Mario can actually finish the level. But for areas like this coin repository, yeah, you're never getting that. 7-2, back to the desert, and yet again back to the Nipper plants. But this time, thanks to Megasp 43, giving them wings allows them to stay in place and jump on their own accord. And because the jungle theme haunts my dreams, there is a small underwater section, but the height is small enough so sections of level can be put above the water and not have any gameplay changes. 7-3, quite possibly one of the most boring levels in this world. This level takes place in one sub-area, and for about half of it, there are some giant slopes with Koopas and Spinies. But near the end of the level, a problem from all the way back to the second level of the game comes up again, the 3-block wide pipe. That I am uncertain will ever appear again. You cannot have 2 and 3-block wide pipes in Mario Maker 2, which is a travesty I will sadly never forget for the rest of my life. This time I made it 5 blocks wide to add some presence of symmetry, as 4 blocks just looks too weird. 7-4, water level with auto scroll. How could it possibly get any worse? The custom scroll feature Mario Maker 2 was made with airship-like levels in mind, so the custom scroll feature is disabled for underwater levels. I still put auto scroll on the level, but since the camera doesn't force you upward, there are multiple multiple sections like this jellyfish section that you can just skip with no hassle whatsoever. There's also a new enemy in the spiny Cheep Cheep, but I never knew what was special about them anyways, so I just used some green Cheep Cheeps instead. 7-5, this underground level is sort of like a puzzle level, kind of like 6-5, but not as trash. But there are 14 different pipes that Mario can enter, and obviously some of them had to be cut. My first priority for pipes I would include was necessary pipes, then pipes that would prevent players from being soft-locked. However, even with most of the pipes being included, there are some stragglers, especially now that there are no ice blocks. Like this one, where if you haven't cleared out the bricks beforehand and you don't have a super leaf, you'll be stuck and forced to restart the level.
Michael!
7-Piranha Plant 1. These are like mini levels that end with the player collecting power-ups at the end, similar to the hand levels in World 8. Since there are some mini pipes, the jungle theme must be used, however, that turns the bottomless pits into nice relaxing swims. So for the first time in this entire series, the night feature is used to make a pool of poison at the bottom of the screen. In the chest at the end is a P-Wing, which is stupid in two ways, the first being that now is just a normal super leaf, and the second being that you can't carry power-ups between levels, so this leaf at the end is literally worthless. 7-Fortress 1. This level feels like an official Mario creepypasta. There are no enemies except for the wing and boom boom at the end, but that's not all. You just wander a corridor filled with signs that enemies used to be there. There are empty candles for the walking fire boys, there are those strange bars of ectoplasm for the stretches, and there are roto-discs for those strange circular disco balls. In terms of errors, there's actually only one interlude section needed, which makes this level even more strange in how it is so accurate. Even the way you beat the level is a secret, and how you have to fly up to this hidden pipe to find the boss. But I always wonder who is the Nintendo employee who came in at the last minute and decided to make a Mario level that makes you experience dimensions. 7-6, another vertical level, and this time, yeah, you actually need to warp across the screen in order to progress. Whenever there's one of these situations, warp doors are the best solution as they keep Luigi within the same sub-area. The first main gimmick of this level are these lifts that astral project themselves, and you can change their direction with a jump. But now in Mario Maker 2, your free will is completely taken away with a chain and an unstable blue lift. 7-7, the more and more I recreate this world, the more I see that this is where the Mario 3 developers really wanted to experiment. You grab stars on a tight time limit to avoid taking damage from the munchers below you, and there are so many munchers, too many munchers for the Mario Maker 2 enemy limit. So yet again, thanks to Megas 43, every other muncher is replaced with spike traps, creating a sort of nice alternating pattern. 7-8, probably one of the most normal Mario-like levels in this world so far, no wacky gimmicks, and there are even some secret sub-areas as well, and one of them just has to have a hammer suit to mock me again. There are some Batui plants, and this time I had to acquiesce to Mario Maker 2's demands and put the spike balls on chains, as the snow theme would just be too out of place here. At the very end of the level is just another Nipper plant, except this one is much more powerful than the ones who came before. He rapidly spits out fireballs from atop his perch. The red bullet bill launcher is optimal to replace his fireballs, as you can put whatever you want into the blasters, including lava bubbles. 7-9. 7-8 was too sensical to be the final level of this wacky world, so we need one last experimental level before you get to the fortress and airship and such. The purple wireframe from World 2 is now blue, and there are various different walls of ice blocks. They cannot be simply replaced with blocks this time, as that would create soft locks, so the bottom brick of the wall is cut out so the walls still technically count as an obstacle. The enemies in this level are also quite easy, which makes it so strange that this level is placed near the end of the world. 7-Fortress 2, a fortress with actual difficulty since the pipes in this level are colored red. You can change the color of the pipes in Mario Maker 2, but this also changes the speed of the pipes as well. So the piranha plants emerge from the pipes much faster than usual. And for the enemies, we got some disco balls, some thwomps, boom boom of course, dry bones, and, you know, boo diddlies. 7-Piranha Plant 2, another simple pipe level with more of those munchers that alternate coming at pipes. But since in Mario Maker 2 the munchers do not all load in on their chains at the same time, it can lead to some wacky mushroom patterns that can be near impossible to solve. The very end of this level also gives the player a mushroom, which is even more useless than the P-Wing. 7-Airship, the longest airship yet, so long that it reaches the very end of the level. This airship again relies on the corkscrew platforms for difficulty that is now completely erased with the blue platforms. But for positives, there is the return return of some actual enemies. It feels so long since I've seen more than 5 life forms in an airship level. For Ludwig himself, I yet again used another Migas 43 tip to add a Sledge Bro to the side to replicate the stomp effect that Ludwig used in his original fight. The very end of this level is also much more cursed now that the ending is now directly next to the end of the level. So that was all 14 worlds of World 7 of Super Mario Bros. 3 represented in Mario Maker 2. For the next video, I'll rank all of these levels based on their faithfulness to the original, but for now, I will just rank all of the levels in this world. Number 14, 7-5. Number 13, 7-6. Number 12, 7-1. Number 11, 7-Airship. Number 10, 7-Piranha Plant 2. Number 9, 7-Piranha Plant 1. Number 8, 7-4. Number 7, 7-9. Number 6, 7-Fortress 2. Number 5, 7-8. Number 4, 7-2. Number 3, 7-Fortress 1. Number 2, 7-7. And number 1, 7-3. So that's welcome, disciples of the internet, to the finale of my series in which I've recreated every level from Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario Maker 2. In this video, we'll of course cover the final world, Dark Land. Including the hand stages, which I am, there are 11 levels, which is a tad bit small for an endgame world, especially considering that the hand stages are super short. And as I've promised for the last 7 videos, this is the one where I'll rank all 90 levels I've recreated in Super Mario Maker 2, so stick around for the end of the video for that. And if you haven't seen the previous 7 videos, click on the reference card in the top right of the screen so you can start at the beginning of this journey with the video that covers World 1. One more not shameless plug before the finale begins, however, make sure to subscribe and toll the notification bell to view even more jelly-infused content. 8-Tank 1. World 8 has some very interesting naming conventions. Most levels are not simply numbered, but are vehicle levels. As you can tell from the name, there's a parade of tanks with cannons and bob-ombs. The theme of choice was actually quite difficult since the tanks are made of brown wood. My first idea was to just simply use the airship theme, but that makes the camera bob up and down, and that was just a bit too annoying for me. Thankfully, the Ghost House theme does have wood in its ground texture, and there is a black background which provides a bit more accuracy. Shortly into the level, you come across some bob-ombs, and in this game they are produced from cannons, and sadly cannons are one of the only objects in Mario Maker 2 that you can't put whatever you want in. Bullet bill cannons work just as well, but most of the time they have to be put in unique locations so they don't just fall onto the floor. Near the ending pipe, there's our first giant cannon, but thankfully mushrooms are one of the only things you can give to the cannons. Some cannons are much longer than 1 or 2 blocks, so for those hard blocks were used to represent the body of the cannon. The very end of this level has a boss, if you could call it that, but it's just a boomerang bro now turned hammer bro. 8-Battleship, a very unique level in the original game. It is basically just a tank level or airship level, but there's water at the bottom to catch your fall. And yes, you can swim in this water even though it looks heavily polluted. So that sadly means that I'm forced to use the jungle theme again, and it looks more out of place than ever. Each ship is now a coagulation of pipes. Hard blocks would look better, but they can be easily destroyed by bob-ombs in the level. But the most important question, is the underwater skip still possible? Yes. 8-Hand 1. The next few levels are the hand levels, which are quite similar to the Piranha Plant levels in World 7. You go through a small little platform challenge, and at the very end you are awarded with a decent power-up. However, this time these levels are no longer optional, as these levels are accessed by a hand that drags Mario to the depths of the underworld, which wouldn't be the first time. As for the level itself, there are 3 bridges with 3 different types of bros. Throughout the series, I've stressed how much Mario Maker 2 does not respect the noble bro lineage, so this level is actually made much harder now that Mario has to go through 5 Hammer Brothers without getting scathed once. The final room grants Mario with his Super Leaf, which is kept consistent with the 2 hand levels to follow. 8-Hand 2. The second hand level has lava bubbles as its main challenge, and tight bridge jumps that are now much easier now that the minimum bridge length is 3 blocks. Those are the only points of interest in the level. This level is super boring. However, that does give it points when it comes to being accurate, if you don't count the interlude section at the very end. 8-Hand 3. The final hand level has much more generous bridges and cheeps that are completely unscathed even though they are jumping through lava. Mario Maker 2 is much more realistic as the cheeps are currently on fire, and it makes the level slightly harder since you can't easily jump on them. 8-Airship. The final airship level, with the interesting addition that the sky is black and the auto-scroll is much faster than usual. The night theme would be nice for this level, but it messes with the gravity of the Rocky Wrench's wrenches, and that's one of the main sources of difficulty for the level. And I mean that, as they are the only enemies in the level, and the other source of danger are the multitudes of bottomless pits. At the very end of this level is our second Boom Boom, our second of 4. So World 8 does not get the award for the most levels, but it does get the record for the most boom booms. 8-1, finally the first normal level in Darkland. The palette for this level is basically the normal ground theme, but at night, and there aren't many aspects that are infected by the night theme of this level, so I have no problem with using night mode for this level. The only thing that is truly affected by night mode is this one up about halfway through the level that is now a rotten mushroom that will ruthlessly chase the player until it falls into this pit. In the very beginning of the level is a P-switch held high in the air. If pressed, it reveals a plethora of coins on the starting platform. Putting bricks here would obviously result in the soft lock, so when the player starts the level, they are instantly thrust into a sea of coins. But the top half of the coins are blocked by P blocks, so there is still a purpose for hitting the P-switch. And since this land is so dilapidated, there are even boo diddlies out in the wild. 8-2, the final traditional numbered level of the series, is a sort of desert level, but instead of normal sand, it's just ash. Choosing the theme for this level is actually quite difficult, but taking into account the music for this level and the fact that the night theme can't be used since the Goombas act super weird, I used the underground theme for the main section of this level. There are 2 sub-areas for this level that you can access by drowning yourself. The sub-area is quite similar to the ones we've seen before with black pipes and blue hard blocks, and this time, there's that strange blue ground that I pointed out earlier in the series. And yet again, the underground theme is used, but at least the ground is colored blue in both instances of the sub-area. There's also an angry sun about halfway through the level, which is another reason why the night theme cannot be used, because the sun is transformed into the moon, which is actually nice and helpful towards the player. 8-Fortress, the very last fortress level, and is quite possibly the most complex one so far. Both sub-areas are jam-packed with 18 doors to travel between them. Yeah, I got 4, but somehow that is just enough to take the player from the start to the end of the level if the player knows exactly what they're doing from the start. 1 to get a super leaf, 1 so the player can access this big section, 1 P door to take the player to the boss, and 1 lock door so the player actually has to beat Boom Boom to end the level. And this is the second to last Boom Boom in the game. Sad, I know. But even more sad is the last Boo Diddly. Rest in peace. Oh wait, they literally can't, they're ghosts. I'm sorry. 8-Tank 2. This tank is quite similar to the first, but there are some planks of wood near the top of the screen that are implied to be connecting to the tanks. In Mario Maker 2, you can easily see that the planks are simply just floating, so I added some semi-solids to apply some sort of connection to the grounded tanks. Taking the pipe of this level is the very last Boom Boom, and I feel no sentimental feelings towards this enemy. Rest in piss. 8-Bowser's Castle, the final level. Bowser's Castle starts off with holding nothing back with laser shooting statues of Bowser. If you lay down enough ground blocks, you can find these statues of Bowser. These do not have collision, however. But with some diagonal chains and some lava bubbles with wings, you have some sort of quasi-lasers. There are a few doors in this level that can provide some extra ways to progress through the level, like this one that brings the player to Bowser's basement. In some rooms, Bowser will shoot fireballs at you, and I could use chains at this point, but lava bubbles provide just as much challenge. And while making this level, I made a discovery that I feel so weird for never knowing about it. There are 2 Bowsers in this level. There are 2 different doors to access them, and you can see that the bricks in their room are in different shapes. So I also have 2 Bowsers in my level. You can also notice that I put donut blocks on top of the door instead of hard blocks. This is just so Bowser wouldn't get stuck. And after beating Bowser, Luigi can realize that Mario was already there and had already rescued the princess. So that was it. All levels of World 8. And I could rank all of the levels in this world alone, but we've waited long enough already. It is time for the final ranking of all 90 levels I've made in Mario Maker 2 in terms of faithfulness to the original game. I will start with number 90, 6-8, number 89, 7-5, number 88, 5-2, number 87, 6-9, number 86, 7-6, number 85, 3-Fortress 1, number 84, 5-Fortress 2, number 83, 6-Fortress 3, number 82, 7-1, number 81, 8-Fortress, number 80, 5-Tower, number 79, 7-Airship, number 78, 3-3, number 77, 6-1, number 76, 8-Bowser's Castle, number 75, 3-8, number 74, 7-Piranha Plant 2, number 73, 5-Airship, number 72, 6-10, number 71, 5-9, number 70, 8-Battleship, number 69, 4-Fortress 2, number 68, 7-Piranha Plant 1, number 67, 2-Fortress, number 66, 6-Airship, number 65, 3-Fortress 2, number 64, 7-4, number 63, 6-6, number 62, 8-Tank 2, number 61, 4-4, number 60, 3-5, number 59, 2-4, number 58, 1-5, number 57, 5-4, number 56, 4-6, number 55, 6-Fortress 1, number 54, 8-Tank 1, number 53, 7-9, number 52, 2-Pyramid, number 51, 1-Fortress, number 50, 3-1, number 49, 5-1, number 48, 8-2, number 47, 7-Fortress 2, number 46, 4-1, number 45, 3-airship. Number 44, 6-2. Number 43, 2-airship. Number 42, 5-fortress 1. Number 41, 1-airship. Number 40, 3-7. Number 39, 4-5. Number 38, 5-3. Number 37, 2-3. Number 36, 8-airship. Number 35, 7-8. Number 34, 6-7. Number 33, 1-2. Number 32, 8-1. Number 31, 7-2. Number 30, 4-2. Number 29, 3-2. Number 28, 5-6. Number 27, 2-2. Number 26, 6-3. Number 25, 1-6. Number 24, 8-hand 1. Number 23, 7-fortress 1. Number 22, 4-fortress 1. Number 21, 3-9. Number 20, 6-5. Number 19, 5-5. Number 18, 2-1. Number 17, 1-3. Number 16, 2-quicksand. Number 15, 8-hand 3. Number 14, 4-airship. Number 13, 5-7. Number 12, 3-6. Number 11, 7-7. Number 10, 6-4. Number 9, 1-4. Number 8, 8-hand 2. Number 7, 5-8. Number 6, 3-4. Number 5, 6-fortress 2. Number 4, 4-3. Number 3, 7-3. Number 2, 2-3. And number 1, surprisingly enough, 1-1. And there we go, every single level of Super Mario Bros. 3 remade and Mario Maker 2. I hope you've enjoyed the recreation of all 8 worlds of Mario 3, but that's not all. If you want to play these levels or the super world made for my favorite Mario recreations, you can search up my Mario Maker ID currently on screen. And if you want to view even more jelly-soaked sleep paralysis demon fuel, stick around.